Hey, welcome to a new series where I'm just talking about my movie and breaking it down scene by scene. Yep, I got inspired by another filmmaker. A Fragile Nest, I believe, is the film. Go check it out if you haven't. So let's all filmmakers jump in. Let's do it. My first feature was called Extra Mundane. The first scene I ever shot will be the first scene that we actually break down today. So let's do it. I had written a scene that I knew I wanted in the movie, and I thought, okay, if I can do this scene, because it's pretty extensive, I am sure I can pull the whole movie off by myself. So that means I'm running the sound, I'm pre-lighting all the scenes, I'm pulling focus, holding the camera, whole thing. I'm doing it all. I had a fanny pack, which I'll post a picture here. And this was the first scene. So we start out. So you see here we're opening with a nice little slider shot. Wasn't too great at it, but I was getting there. So number one thing I've learned about filmmaking so far, shoot a ton of inserts. No matter what you're shooting, shoot an insert of the actor's hand doing something in the scene, feet doing something in the scene, and then you'll have coverage where if you make a mistake or you get it in post and you're putting the movie together and you're like, God, this doesn't make any sense, then you can just use the inserts to cut the scenes. I know usually inserts are supposed to tell the story further, and a lot of times inserts you shoot, you'll find that you'll be like, oh, the shot of the fingers running over the book is great, aesthetically pleasing. It works in the scene. But part of that was because I actually shook the camera on these push-ins because I was still getting used to the slider. Uh-oh. He left his charger out. It's gone. So this building is haunted, for some premise, and this guy has like heightened senses, so he can really sense when things are wrong. And we're realizing now, oh God, his phone's dead. And nowadays, especially takes place during COVID, so you couldn't live without your phone, right? You needed something, phone, computer, whatever. So he realizes he's got to go outside and get his charger. Those were his actual keys, his actual flip-flops. So I just let the actors bring their own wardrobe. I said, hey, this is kind of the tone and feel I'm going for. Do you have anything in your closet you can just bring? Yeah, sure. This was just a vacant, empty apartment. And then this, yes. So this is at an apartment building, a live apartment building, so anybody can walk in and out at any moment. So we shot this later at night, so people were hopefully sleeping. And the whole thing was right? So even these shots, like I'm on my slider and I'm pulling back as you see him going down the stairs. And I even told him when you're going down the stairs, just, you don't want to, when you're working in environments like that, you have to find ways to make it work for the scene, right? So in this case, we can't be loud, both practically, and I used it as, hey, you don't want to stir anything up. There's this monster around, this ghost, so you will kind of want to tiptoe down, use it. As a director, I'm trying to use it for the act, give the actor a reason, so you just got to go get your USB, get back in your apartment and lock your door. That's your goal. Like, that's what we're doing. So nice slider shot. Going down the steps. This one I was actually on the roof and I had my camera tilted down off of a jib, and I had the jib on the slider and I was just sliding it as he walked. I was just sliding it across the top of the roof, and completely safe, couldn't fall off, handrails, whole thing. So I wasn't doing it like an idiot. I was using what I had there. So there was no chance of falling off. Yeah, this was a really tough scene to edit. I didn't have the greatest camera back then, so night wasn't my friend. So I'm trying to make this work with like 800 ISO, which was really difficult. I was shooting with a Blackmagic production 2.5K. So we were shooting 2.5K raw. Again, same thing. We're in the middle of the street. It's the middle of the night. Yeah, this awesome red car, which we actually used in a short film coming out called Incessant. I love this little red car, so we used it again. It just seems so opposite of the character. I was like, it's perfect. Just please, can we use that?
Okay, you got this. You got this. It's simple. Just get the cord. Just get the cord. All
Insert, you found it. And then, yes, Something ran past the back. That was me. So this is how we did this. Okay. This is difficult. This is movie making, man. This stuff gets me excited. So he's in the car. I'm obviously behind the camera. However, before we hit action, I put on a black robe and like all this stuff to look like the monster in this movie, the ghost in this movie. And so what I did was I hit record and I ran to the back passenger back side of the car. And I told him, okay, your cue is when I hit the back of your car, that's when you snap up and you're like, oh my God, like his senses, he knows something's near him and it's near, right? So what I would do is I'd hit camera rolling, I'd run around to the back of the car, and then I'd kind of whisper at a window crack to be like, action. And so he'd be down getting his USB. And then I would whip across the back of the car. And once I got to the driver corner, I'd give the car a tap. So he knew I passed, and he'd be like, so he gets out, we did a wider shot, and then same thing. So I'd hit recording, rolling, I'd get out, and then I'd give his car a tap to cue him to get out. And then, you know, these shots we all did separately, obviously. This is what I'm talking about. Inserts, shoot things as many directions as you're able. I know in indie filmmaking it's difficult, but just try to get as many. And that shot ended up being one of my favorites with the light blinding him. And that's me. If you look real close, I'm standing there in the black right there. And look, you're working with minimal budgets here, so I'm trying just to get the point across that there's something scary following him, right? I didn't have the money for prosthetics and anything else to make a monster, so it's just a robe off Amazon, and then I got this cool like goblin suit with weird fingers that you see in the opening of the movie, and I just combined them and made this kind of silhouetted figure. So here, keys can go, but the whole time I'm like, be quiet, be quiet, be quiet. So much of the keys jingling and him trying to get in, he wasn't really saying anything because there was a window right there of someone who lived in an apartment. So I was like, just, you know, you're fiddling, just keep fiddling. You can't get you mixed up your keys. You can't, don't say much. And then we just ADR'd it. So later I had him go back in and add the breaths and the come on, like when he's doing all that and he's trying to get in. And this shot was really hard to get. So this was really difficult. I'm on the slider and I'm also trying to focus and let the tension build, and it was just about trying to feel out, okay, when is a good time to go up to him? And then I slide back in the other direction, and that is actually my wife, Chelsea, who is the ghost in this one. So we would swap people out for who was doing what, and there you go. So that was the first scene. That I knew if I could shoot that scene, there was enough in there with me having to focus and outside and running around to be the monster and coming back and doing all this stuff that I thought, pre-lighting it, rolling sound. We did have sound. It ended up not being great that night, so I worked out the kinks for later in the movie. And, you know, I said, all right, I could pull that off. I went and edited the scene, I think like that week, that night. I get really excited. And I thought, okay, I can shoot this whole movie by myself. Let's go. As far as lighting goes in that scene, I was using a lot of portables, a lot of, you know, small portable battery operated lights, you know, anything I could stick anywhere just to enhance light that was already there. So like car dashboard, you know, lighting up his face there. You know, when he slowly turns around when you watch the scene and there's that one of my favorite shots of him lit up. I was just enhancing a street light that was there, so I had some lights on tripods that were battery operated, just, you know, tried to match the light as best I could and just hit him with it harsh, because that's kind of how the street light was. So crank the ISO. Sometimes I had to open the lens all the way up to, you know, 1.5 or whatever it opens to. I use Rokinon Cine lenses. So that's how I was getting what I was getting with that. And for the first scene, I thought, oh, it actually looks legit. It looks legit, I think. You know, and I've just developed over time how to get better, understanding exposure a little better, you know, trying to get it all figured out. So there's my breakdown. Hope you guys enjoy.